members and Jane as an alternate. The select board approved our applications.
That was great. You guys got him in.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison.
I wasn't there actually for that.
Thanks
Tom,
for
are
nothing.
you also?
But
I
would have been glad to support it. I didn't try to intervene from afar.
All right. There is another person who has sort of applied. Her name is Kayla Pittman. And I'm going to get in contact with her and see what she's about. Okay.
Jeff, are you talking about pathways?
Yeah, pathways. You have to, yeah, I'm talking about pathways committee.
Okay. And what about Tom?
He's not a pathways committee member.
Tom, you're muted.
Oh, Tom.
Poor Tom's been waiting to be approved as a.
Yeah.
I think it's been so long that they perhaps didn't even, the whole thing, we could have a whole meeting about all the issues with the committee appointment process. But we may want to revisit it and see if we need to make some suggestions, because some select board members were basically knew that this was coming up on the agenda. And so their committees actually made recommendations. But some select board members just saw it on the agenda the Friday before the meeting. We're like, oh, and they didn't ask me for any input. And so in a few different committees, it's like people that, like on the Conservation Commission, there's a woman who's been coming. She had said she was interested. She had an application from a long time ago, and would have, been the very logical choice. But her application wasn't included in the packet, I think, because it wasn't new enough or something. I think it was all just an accident, but there are a lot of issues, and not just know that none of it was on purpose, and I wasn't there to set the record straight.
So just to clarify, we have an open position for Camden, and I was wondering, Tom, if you were going to step into the committee full time.
Sure. I didn't know we needed to reapply. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't think you would need to reapply, because you are appointed as an alternate. I think it's up to the chairs to recommend to the select board that Tom, because of Will's resignation, that Tom comes on as a full member, right?
Is Tom actually on that list of alternate members? Yeah, I don't think so. I think that that's not.
I just looked,
official.
Allison, there's.
Yeah, it's all messed up, but the important thing should be, if you want to be, then we should include that in the list. We should say, we need to go back, track down these applications from people that have actually been participating, and then ideally let us check in with Kayla, see if she's actually even interested, and consider if she is, then she could be an alternate or something. But
I'll do that. I'll also check in with Janice and see whether the web page reflects what she knows. Sometimes they're
you could
not
just look
the
in
same.
the packet, look in the select board packet from the last meeting, and there's this whole, there's like a spreadsheet that had people's names on that were interested, and people who were already appointed and when their terms expire. And I don't even think Tom's name was on there, which is the same thing that happened to Samantha Scharf over in the Conservation Commission. It's like the people that have gone through the process in the best possible way by actually participating in the committees, and then they somehow, their older applications fell off to people that had just put in applications or something like that. It's just a mess. But
so that stinks. So what does Janice and Audra need from this committee concerning Tom? What are the next steps that need to be done to get Tom?
I think you should write an email to me that says what we think. I think we should see who's appointed, who isn't, see what's right and what's wrong, and say, this is the Pathways Committee's understanding of this. Somebody should check in with Kayla because that's the right thing to do. She also got appointed to the Conservation Commission, and I don't believe she was interested anymore. But you should, and then because I have a few different requests that I need to make as the liaison to these committees, and then I can bundle that all together.
Okay,
I'll
does
do,
it,
I'll
And
do
just
that.
To
I
be
can do
clear,
that.
we have 3 active members and 1 or 2 alternates, or 1 or 2.
we have
In-
4. Rockport has 4 members. And
That's what I thought. So is it 4 with 1 or 2 alternates?
I don't know what the bylaws say for this committee.
Are you, wait, it's 5 with 3. Or 5 with 2. From
5
each
for
town.
each town?
Yeah, with 2.
Oh, so I mean, it's potential that both of them could be. I
Bumped
mean,
up.
Tom should be because he's been serving.
Yeah, but they're both Camden. So let me write a memo to Allison
Wait,
saying that Richard, Anita, Jeff, and Andrew are members. Will Galloway said that
Will resigned. Will resigned.
Will said he had sent in the paperwork. I will say that. Jane is an alternate. That means that Tom could be a permanent, a full-time member, voting member, and it means that Kayla could be an alternate, and
Yeah.
then we're all set.
Sounds
And
like
that's what I'll say. That's what I'll say.
okay, so you're gonna
I'll send that, and I'll CC Linda on that. Well, yeah.
so okay, that's great.
But can
can
I
we just
just,
talk about Rockport then in the same light real quickly?
Well, hang
Um,
on one sec. Can we put Rockport on the agenda because I had a conversation with Orion last night concerning Rockport and how often we meet with Camden and going forth. So can we just put Margot?
Yep.
Can we put Rockport on the agenda after these other things? So we're
Yeah.
amending the agenda for that.
And I only
okay,
have.
before we
I have-
get off this, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I don't mind filling out a new application. To tell you the truth, when I first applied to this, I didn't really fill out the application. I mean, it was a very, very minimalist application. And it probably wouldn't be a bad idea if I filled out a new one with a better explanation of my background and so forth. I think on the first one, I put as my background, what qualifies me for the committee was that I like to walk a lot. And that was it. That was all I put. So I don't mind filling out a new one.
Do it, Tom. Do it.
Okay. And just so
Although
everybody
that's not the
knows-
reason that it didn't get. It's not because of that. It's
Okay.
It's-
But
it's
I've
a
been
process.
thinking
It's
I
a
should do
process
that
thing.
anyway.
Process.
I'll
thing.
just, I'll do that. Also, just so everybody knows, I clicked on the chat early on and I haven't been able to get back to a screen since. So if I seem to be missing things, it's maybe because of that, but I at least have it to the point now where I can see myself. I can't see any of you, but, and I can hear you. So that's the way it is, just so you know.
Somewhere in there, it should say full screen. If you can click on the full screen.
No,
thing.
actually, I think that was the problem. I went
that's
to
probably
full
the problem.
screen
Yeah.
Mm.
and I can't get back out of full screen. That's what the problem.
Press escape if you have that. What kind of
Escape?
computer do you have?
A MacBook. Oh,
I don't think you press
escape. I lost the picture that I had.
If you go, you can toggle through all the windows by holding on the command key, and the tab key. So hold
Control.
command and then tap, and it will go through. It'll show you all the windows you have up, all the different applications, and you might be able to just go back over to Zoom.
No, it's not doing that. That's all right. I can hear you. That's the important part. And I guess you can hear me. So
And see, we
you
can
could
see you
log
too.
out. You could log
Or
out.
tap on
Okay.
click on the Zoom icon somewhere. If you can see, if you have a dock that shows all your applications, and you click on where it says Zoom, it might bring that back up again. Or you could share your screen and then we could all,
We can all help
or you
them.
can't share your screen probably because I love this kind of stuff.
We're glad for that,
You could,
Allison.
yeah, right. You could
It's
quit.
nice to have
um,
someone who loves this kind of stuff.
You
Yeah,
could quit and come back in.
you
can
know what?
argue that.
Just go ahead. I can hear you. You can hear me.
Shut the hell up,
Because I can't
everybody.
even get, I can't even get to an option to quit at this point. So
Right, because
just,
you don't have
just go
Zoom
ahead.
brought forward, yeah.
Tom
Okay,
is,
so just to
Tom
bring
is,
us back,
yeah, Tom is
just to
stuck
bring
in
us back.
the vortex.
I
of
mean, you
Zoom.
look fine to us, so it's, I mean, it's all,
Good.
you're
Good.
not, yeah.
I would say let's
Get
not
peace with
waste
it.
time on it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you,
So,
Tom.
so just to be clear, our Camden membership recommendation for those who have been active are Jeff, Anita, Richard, Andrew, Bob are the full member, voting members, with alternates being Jane and Kayla is the
Who's
name.
Bob? Who's Bob?
Did you say Bob?
Wait, wait,
Or
I
did you
meant
mean
Tom. Sorry. Sorry, Tom. I meant Tom.
Who's got the puppy?
I do.
Or a squeaky
me-
chair.
Let me see the puppy.
Oh, she walked away.
Okay,
She's,
so can I just get
Ugh.
the answer to my question? The 5 voting members, Jeff, Anita, Richard, Andrew, Tom, alternates Jane and Kayla. And it was a Kayla? Who was the name?
I'll correct that spelling.
Okay, thank you. And then for Rockport, we have Linda, Margot, Kristen, who've been active. Amber suggested that maybe she doesn't stay active because she's too busy, so she might make a logical alternate.
Right.
I know that Ryan Gates has expressed interest and that Andrew Daly has expressed willingness. So the question is, do we need to mobilize those folks in the process of getting approved by the town?
So let's, when we get, so let's, I agree. Let's get those two. I don't know if John has officially heard from Heidi. John was going to reach out to Heidi. So we need to get that one cleared up. Heidi
Okay.
officially resigns. But I think let's approach Ryan and Andrew to see if they want to be full. And Amber could possibly be alternate.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, just to give us some marching orders.
So I'm going to put that in the minutes.
Okay, and we've got some minutes also starting on the Google Doc, but we can merge them together.
We can merge them later. And also we have the minutes from the last that I circulated October 31st, that if you want to ask for approval of those.
So moved.
Did everybody get a chance to look at those?
I
minutes?
looked at them when I first got them and then I've lost the email, like I can't find it anywhere.
Okay, I'll
Well,
forward that.
I assume that the minutes you're talking about, Linda, are the ones that are in the Google Doc.
Yeah, and I
the Google
believe that
folder.
I believe that I circulated them as a PDF October
did.
31st.
You did.
So
Yeah.
it's a matter of whether everybody's ready to approve them and get that off our plate.
I am in one sec. Does anybody need a link to the minutes? Are we good to progress? Did everybody look? I am putting, there's
I
a
did not
link in the
look,
Google
so
chat
The link would
for
be great.
those minutes.
I never found the minutes.
They
Or
are,
the link.
so if you look in the chat, I put a link to them.
Oh, good.
And they're attached to your October 31st Halloween email from me as a PDF, if you have to go back there. Either way.
Yeah, never saw it anyway.
Yeah, I'm seeing them now and I didn't, this looked good to me.
Okay, so anybody want to move then, that we approve the minutes?
I believe, Jeff, you moved it.
I did.
Okay. A second?
And I second things.
Thanks, Tom. Any discussion on any of that? Okay, not hearing any discussion. Are we good on approving the minutes?
Yes.
Looks like we're all good. Richard, are you good? You're muted, but we'll just assume you're still talking, but we can't hear you because you're muted. Andrew, did you get a chance to see him?
Yeah,
He's-
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Working, okay. Ay, ay, ay.
Okay, so it sounds like we've at least got a majority to approve the minutes. I don't know about Richard and Andrew, so we'll,
Oh, I said I did.
okay, good. Okay, so let's move on
I'm good
to,
on the minutes. You might be able to hear me now.
yes, we can hear you now. Okay, great. Okay, so let's move on to,
One more item.
oh, what's that?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that first one would be as long. I talked to, I can't remember his last name, Dakota. He's the guy that took over for Patrick
Hewlett,
Adams.
Dakota Hewlett, I think.
Thank you, Dakota Hewlett. You're absolutely right. He's the one that took over for Patrick Adams is still around, but not in the same role. But our person now is Dakota Hewlett to speak with, and had a nice conversation with him about life and everything, and about our committee. And he would like to come and visit us, probably via Zoom. So I'd like to put that out there if that's okay for the January meeting.
Sounds great.
Any objections to that?
So who
I
is
can
it
invite
you're
him.
talking about?
He is the MDOT guy in charge of pedestrian and bicycle ways
Oh, cool.
for Maine. And I actually invited him down sometime to see everything we're doing here. And, you know, we got to get a good foot forward there, and the more airtime we get with him, the better. So he's going to actually probably present to us more, because he's going to explain what he's doing. In a prior meeting, you guys asked, I thought.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, Jeff.
Yeah. You asked, what I originally talked to him about was the Route 1 North contract that went out for clearing. And I wanted to talk to him again about putting bicycle symbols on the shoulder, painting them, and he is more open to that. He just said he's more open to the discussion. His concern is that what happens at the end when it hits the Lincolnville town line and there is no shoulder. And so we're guiding bicyclists to go up there, and then it ends. I think we should bring up the topic when he comes to visit, because we just need to keep pressing. If you keep waiting till everything's done before you put symbols down, cautionary symbols down, they typically won't get done, because there's always some piece somewhere in the network that doesn't have the piece. So I think we should just continue to advocate. But I'll ask him first about whether he can make the January meeting, and if he can, I'll aim for the February meeting. And that's the third Wednesday, right?
Yeah, because I'm
Right.
assuming we won't meet in December.
Yeah, that's what we had said.
That's a
Okay.
big deal, Jeff. That's really awesome. He's
Yeah, it's
a
cool.
big deal. He's the first one ever. that
Yeah.
they've had in that position. He's more than just a replacement for Patrick Adams. So
No, it's a new position.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very
No,
cool.
that's great. That is great.
Thank
And
you.
what we should do is try and, mobilize everybody, because that would be an important conversation. Like, everybody who's on the committee, give them a heads up ahead of time. Linda.
Wanted, yeah. I was going to say, maybe a couple of us could go and physically look at that situation. Would that make sense? Instead of
Yeah,
just
and I'm
thinking
sure there's more to the conversation than just that project, because it sounds like if we're going to have a conversation and we have his ear, we should talk about several projects or several things on our master plans.
Yeah, I don't want to derail it. He has asked for a copy of the draft master plan. He was very excited to hear about that, which I'll send him when it gets a little closer. But he wants to present to us, so I think we should listen to what he has to say before we start talking about what we want to say.
Okay, Linda.
So just procedurally, we won't meet in December, but that was the meeting that we would meet in person. So I would recommend that we meet in person at the Camden Town office for that meeting. I mean, and Zoom him in, but have the in-person at that one.
Good idea. I'll tell him.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the Rockport piece?
Can I ask a
first,
question?
or do we want to move into master plans? Anita.
Yeah. I just wanted to follow up on that discussion. The gentleman that you're talking about is pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure. Is that his? Okay, so I wanted to see if we could suggest to him. I just want to get your feedback on this, whether the Department of Transportation is really into counting and putting up their counters hither and yon, and I wonder whether they could actually determine how many bicyclists are using the Route 1 area that we're talking about in the summer, obviously, because it seems like they're in denial that bicycles actually go along there, and whether there be any benefit to having some data on bicyclist use before the painting. So to say, look, hopefully, look, people are using this. It doesn't make sense to be in denial about it. We need to make this as safe as possible, at least with the painting for those bicyclists.
I will tell you, I have such a different perspective on bicycling now that I commute my little 3.5 miles a day, several days a week to school by bike. One is I noticed that the lights don't recognize bicycles for the turning left, like it doesn't see a bicyclist. It only responds to cars. And I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'll do things like wave, and the people next to me in the other lane look at me like you're crazy. And I'm like, the light's not turning for me. The other is at night, like when you're coming home this time of year, what's different at night during the day in terms of kind of safety, and things that are easy to skirt around during the day are not as easy to skirt around at night. And so I'm learning a lot just about, and I have a very simple little commute, but I just throw that out there because my awareness is different. Okay, so moving forward, so I think we added some of that.
Was Anita asking about data, or is there data about bicycle?
Well, they're hesitant to paint on the pavement unless all the pavement is done to the same degree. Jeff was just talking about that, and I'm saying, so what if it ends and it's different in the next town? The reality is there are cyclists, and the reality is we need to warn motorists about them.
Right. I agree, Anita. And I think getting the data that you're talking about, couldn't you just email the organization, your bicyclist, statewide organization? They are so up these days on the number of vehicle, pedestrian, or vehicle bike crashes. They're keeping a really good eye on that. And I know that, remember we had one in Lincolnville a couple of years ago, but could you get some data for that so we could have that in hand when he comes?
So it's just about who's been hurt and killed?
No, I mean, I think in general, I'm throwing that who's been hurt and killed because they're doing a really good job on tracking that across the state. And every time there is something, they send out a press release. And that's why I have a heightened awareness that they have heightened their awareness around the state and their communications statewide, that it's not, it's happening all over the place. And here's what we think. What's the name of that? The coalition?
Maine
BCM.
Bicycle Coalition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you talking about just on Route 1, or are you talking about other areas?
It's up
or
to you
whole
if
towns?
this is in advance of talking to this man, right? The DOT guy.
Yeah.
So that was your point?
Just as a rebuttal to, we can't paint on the road until all the roads are the same.
So maybe
So that we're
instead,
not dropping a bicyclist off from a safe area to an unsafe area because the other area isn't painted.
so maybe just having some of that data in hand, that we have so many bicyclists anyhow heading out that way.
So I'm wondering could they put the arrows up as far as the state park and then put a little sign there saying, sorry, bicyclist, but you run out of bicycle lane at the, 1/4 mile ahead or something like that. And that way at least you'd have the arrows up to the state park. And I must say, I kind of agree that it's not a good idea to kind of lure cyclists in and then have them riding on Route 1. I think Route 1 is a death trap the way it is now. So,
But they're going
I
to
think
do it anyhow. Bicyclists are going to do it anyhow. I mean,
a lot more bicyclists when that road is finished and with a bike lane. Right now, the primary route is up Route 52 and Slab City Road and towards Belfast. So I think that if you're serious cyclist, you probably know that. But I've seen kids on it's scary.
do I understand it correctly that the bike lane is going to end when you get to the Lincolnville line? Or did I miss?
There's no bike lane. There's a shoulder, but
a shoulder?
I would really encourage everybody to read over the first ever Maine active transportation plan and read some of the stuff. I've included some links in the chat, like to an article called "A Glimmer of Hope for Maine's Pedestrians and Cyclists," and it's all about how they've hired an active transportation planner, and they have, for the first time ever, an active transportation plan. It's done in a ArcGIS story map. It includes even a picture of Camden. They're really, like, I think that what Dakota was probably saying there with the Lincolnville town line is that's like been a barrier in the past. They have all these rules. You can't put crosswalks unless you have a safe landing place. So I think they're trying to work through some of these things. And it's not with this guy, he's been hired to overcome challenges, to adopt the idea that every road should be bicyclist and pedestrian friendly. I don't think we need to prove to him that matters. I think we just need to try to listen to what he's trying to do and sort of ask him, how are you overcoming barriers like this? What can we do to help? I doubt that we need to count cyclists on, going through Camden, because it's not the same as it was 15 years ago, where people were making the argument that it's not even worth it. So I think that there have been a few things that we've done over by like Route 52. They didn't want to put up signs saying, watch for pedestrians, because it was like we didn't want to be encouraging pedestrians to be in an unsafe place. And so Dave St. Laurent did this whole experimental signage thing with the argument that we know that there are pedestrians that are going to be in the area, and we, need to warn, the cars. And because we filled out that whole thing and called it an experimental blah, 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 they said, okay. So maybe there's stuff like that. But this guy, I don't think, needs to be convinced of the value of any of this.
Thank you. Good point.
I think he'll
And-
also be
and-
probably more receptive if we show that we're like, oh yes, we looked over the plan you created. And so, we show we're following along with what they're doing.
Yeah, good idea. Thank you for that.
The other thing to keep
connection.
in mind, and I only know this because my son is still working at 40 Paper while he's trying to graduate. They host in the summertime through October, like almost every week, these 15, 20 bicyclists groups. And most of them are using Route 1, and they're not using, like these big tour groups that are coming through. And we're talking like 15, 20 of these groups a year, and they're going Belfast to Camden. And so there's some commercial interest. Most of
The
at
East
least-
Coast Greenway too, but
yeah,
But that East Coast Greenway and those tour groups go all up the back way that Andrew was talking about. They stay off of Route 1.
235. But 235 and 52 are dangerous too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway,
that's a whole nother thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
Not as bad as Route 1.
It's
Is
not as
the-
bad as Route 1. They have a shoulder, so it's better.
So then the homework assignment, out of respect for that conversation and for Dakota, is to at least take a look at the link that Allison, and it'll be in the minutes as well, that provided to the active transportation plan, so that we're all more or less on the same page how the state is thinking.
And just to add just a smidge to what Allison said, Dakota's title is Active Transportation Planner. So it's all fitting together nicely.
okay, so let's just quickly, before we jump into the not comprehensive plans, the plans.
Master plans.
Master plans, thank you. You can tell where my brain is at. There was a conversation we had probably 2 months ago now, and then Linda, you followed up with Orion yesterday. So why don't we just take a moment to talk about that conversation?
Okay, so I bumped into Orion. Well, first let me preface that Lenny had mentioned that there may be some Rotary funding possibly for Rockport Pathways initiatives. And so then, and this was at the meeting over at Simonton Corner for planning for RES, which is really outstanding process, if any of you have participated in that, but it's all about trying to dream up, what to do with that 7-acre parcel. And it's been a good community process. So Orion, I spoke briefly with Orion, and he was wondering where we stood with meeting quarterly, Camden and Rockport, and then meeting on our own, meeting Rockport only, and then Camden only in the interim. And I said I would bring it up this evening. The point is that it has to come from us. I said, well, what do Audra and John think about this at this point? And he said, the motion has to, the work to do this has to come from us. We have to agree, and then we set up on our own. He said to meet in Rockport, which would be, so if we met quarterly, it would be like the same, what is it, 4 times, it would be 4 times a year, and it would be in a location. Camden's rules are different from Rockport in that meeting in Rockport, we would have to have a hybrid meeting, which means, Margo, we would have to meet in person for 2 meetings, 2 consecutive meetings, and then meet with Camden for a full meeting, I guess that would be at a regular meeting at the town office, but we would have to have a hybrid meeting and then invite people if they want to Zoom in. Those are just Rockport's protocols now. So we would have to meet in a official meeting room in Rockport. So that's an addendum that doesn't really concern, but we haven't met in Rockport as a group at all. For 18 months or so since the Opera House had its calamity. But that's resolved at this point, and now people are meeting in the library, I guess. So the question is, we need to tell Rockport. Rockport is encouraging us to meet quarterly as the Camden Rockport Pathways Committee, and then the Rockport representatives to the committee meet as Rockport on those 2 off months to work on Rockport initiatives. And Orion does have some updates, apparently. He's gone away for Thanksgiving, but he does have some updates on the planning process. So that's the circuitous route where we are right now. And we only have 2 Rockport people here at this moment. Kristen has gone to Mississippi. She emailed and said she's gone to Mississippi for Thanksgiving.
But it would be helpful to hear from the the Camden contingency.
I don't have, my gut feel is that we should stay together and we should meet every time as a group. And we should lend our voices across the towns because I think we have more power with numbers and more continuity too. The smaller our groups become, the harder it is to maintain the committee. It's hard enough the way it is right now. So if we meet 8 times a year in groups of 4 or 3, or 2, if that's all that shows up, I don't know how you're going to do business. And then just meet quarterly. But maybe quarterly is enough to do business. Maybe that's all it is. My gut feel is no, but I can't be more specific than that.
Allison.
Is there a way to make it just a little bit less rigid? I know that in Camden, there's been some feeling that just the task of trying to keep on top of all the different committees, all the different terms, all of the different rules, it's just that is like a full-time job sometimes I know I can guess that Audra's she's going to be like, try to do whatever is effective. And rather than all of this approval to meet then or now, or would it be okay? Could we maybe, do we need to exclude the Camden people from your Rockport meetings, or could it just be a little more loose where the quorum requirements are different and it's like everybody can come if they want to, but it would give people some opportunity to not be a part of certain meetings it's like, okay, I don't have a lot to add to the discussion about this or that in Rockport, but I might really want to participate in something that has to do with a pathway to the school, and we could, because some of it, I know that's been a problem for some of the members here too, that like Heidi, I think could have been really valuable, for instance, if she had zero interest in arguing about lines on Mechanic Street and was kind of like, oh my gosh, my time is really valuable. I don't have a lot to add here, but I don't know, just a framework so that the people that are really interested in certain things could lend their expertise to that.
I do think some of that's actually coming from, like, Orion wants to be a liaison, but he also, it's like he just doesn't have the bandwidth to be able to sit for an hour and be talking about Camden projects. So I think
Exactly.
it was trying to figure out how to be more efficient so they can be more responsive. And I feel like we're in this little window where both John Duke and Orion want to be responsive to the Rockport pathway needs, but they
Mhm.
cannot, handle like the whole scope of everything. And so, so maybe
Exactly.
we start out initially that, 1 quarter is going to just be a Rockport meeting, and 1 quarter it's going to be just a Camden. You're invited to go to them, but that it's just Camden business or Rockport business. And then, one of the quarterly meetings, it's together. And that might be a way that we can, keep Dave more interested, because he's probably not
Right.
too interested in what's going on in Rockport. But
I
if
mean,
we
he lives there, but I think you're exactly right. And maybe it could be less about always about like who lives in what town. But if you're, if you're interested, you might be a Rockport resident that's dealing with a Camden sidewalk issue every day and you really want to participate in that. Or it could be like, we're going to talk about Rockport issues today, at these meetings. And if you want to keep it to Rockport issues, we go to that meeting, and then we have other meetings where it's more cross. I'm not trying to dictate this, but I think it's a problem for Camden too. And it's been a problem for Camden people that want to get involved. It's like, how can we let people shine where they have something to offer? I think Dave would come more too to the Camden meetings if we didn't have to get mired in all the other stuff.
But, not to dismiss Jeff's point, but, if we have our quarterly, we still have our quorum. If there's if there's something that we need to rally, the troops, then, we can kind of rally that. But I know that, and that we may have like co-chairs, we have a Camden and a Rockport, so that Rockport month, if, for instance, the Camden chair doesn't want to be, can't be there, then that's the month, that they aren't there. So we can also kind of rethink some of that governance structure as well.
I do think we have to get a little bit away more and more from this like, well, which town do you live in? Okay, well, you moved to Camden, so now you have to participate under all these rules. And so many of us, the whole point of the Camden Rockport pathway stuff wasn't just, it was connectivity between the two towns, but it's also that so many of us cross over that border so many times a day and are impacted by decisions that we say, okay, well, it's okay if Rockport people want to have an opinion about things in Camden, because Camden people want to have an opinion about things in Rockport sometimes, and we all kind of try to work together. So I think Jeff is right to keep pushing for this idea of working together as the towns is really important. And
Agreed.
Maybe
fact,
what we
it's
do
not
is
model.
we just re-envision what 8 of the meetings are for the year, where they are work groups and there isn't any formal business, there's no recording, there's no nothing. And then there are 4 quarterly meetings where the actual motions occur and businesses is, so the quorum doesn't come into effect for the other 8 meetings.
That's what the Historic Resources Committee has been doing a lot, actually, without asking anybody's permission, but they have developed subgroups for people that want to work on the ordinance, and then they come and they report back to the larger group, but it's, they don't record their meetings when 3 of them get together. It allows a little more flexibility
And to do that, we don't have to go to the select board or anything. We just say we're switching to 4 meetings a year.
Yeah.
That's all you do. Because that's all we
and
need
the other
to get
ones
our
are
business
work
done.
sessions. Yeah.
So that means you can come over to our house and have cookies and milk, and you don't have to be at a public workspace and all that stuff. Right?
Right. And then you just report back to the group.
Yeah. Exactly.
But wait a minute, are you saying that on the 8 meetings, they would be separate, the 2 towns?
You,
You
So-
you can
Yeah.
participate or not. If you're interested in the topic going on in Rockport, then participate. If you're not interested in striping in Rockport, then don't. And vice versa.
But how do you know that what they're going to be talking about if it's more informal and you don't have agendas and so on?
Yeah, you can't do
Linda.
that. Legally, you can't do that. Freedom of access, no, you can't. Those are public proceedings. You're a public body, so you have to follow rules.
But we're not meeting as a committee. We're meeting as a
No,
work-
but you are. You're meeting as a committee. You're committee members and you're meeting. Open meetings. And people-
Let's,
the public has a right to attend to, if you're working on town, if you're a group of people working, but if you're on the Camden Rockport Pathways Committee and you're meeting as such, then your meetings have to be, they've got to be open to the public and you've got to have them in a public space. You don't have to record them.
yeah, but Linda, you get together with a few people and you say, oh, well, we met with John, and it's sometimes been several people, and you meet with MDOT and then you report back. How is that?
Because if you're going to,
Is it a quorum or not? As long as we keep it under a quorum.
No, but if you're going to meet to discuss, like if you're not going to go to your house to have cookies and milk, you're going to meet in a public space and you're going to discuss. You're off, your discussion's off, you're reporting back to the committee. But if you start holding subcommittees where the public can't attend or it has a hard time attending, then you're doing the public's business not with the public.
Well, what about the difference between formal subcommittees and people getting together, and like when you've met with Patrick Adams or when a few people can get together and.
Few people can get together and have your conversations, but then you're going to bring those, like you're going to bring that, like Jeff had a conversation, then he brings it back to here and discusses it and says, okay, I did have a conversation with Dakota and here's what's happening. Or if two people had a conversation, but you really need you got to observe those rules or else we all go to hell in a handbasket.
I think a lot of it is semantics and intent, and maybe you're imagining more formal meetings than. I guess it depends on how much decision making goes on and but.
Well, if you're going to have Dave St. Laurent come and talk about, say, striping to a subgroup about Pearl Street, you want to make sure that
Oh, well, yeah.
That's going to be, and even though
That's
you're
going
not.
to be like an agenda. Yeah, I see what you mean.
So what if you just got together for a barbecue and you happen to talk about some pathway stuff?
That's intentionally trying to get around that. That's like.
Anyhow, I mean, I don't want to be like the pisser, but I think we can go down the road of being too relaxed. There's
So
got to
it
be some
sounds like
structure.
we need a little more tangible proposal, but that the power of the two towns, we don't want to lose that. And, both for when there are initiatives that we want more bodies, but then on top of that, and certainly any projects that go between towns, because according to, and I don't know the full history, but part of Pathways came from that multi-use trail that kind of goes between the two towns, and that's where this was sort of born out of this two-town committee. And so there is some power in that we don't want to lose the multiple bodies, but that for efficiency, it may make sense that, we can break into a smaller town committee to kind of do some work, but then those, whether it's quarterly or whether it's, every other month, that we have the ability to report back so that, whatever conversations or whatever actions are reported out to the whole committee. So just a suggestion before, Linda, is that, we kind of mull this over and maybe between now and our January meeting, just sort of brainstorm a possible proposal. Linda.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. But I would suggest maybe that formal votes are taken at the quarterly meeting, and if they can't, if something is really pressing, like all of a sudden you get a $800,000 grant that needs to be accepted or something, and we need to make a recommendation, that we do convene and formally vote on that.
Absolutely.
It's also pretty easy to notice something as a public meeting. Once we've decided that there's going to be a meeting, you just put it on the town calendar and send lately they've decided that anytime 3 select board members are going to show up at any committee meeting, that needs to be noticed as a select board meeting. And it's like this. I have to let Audra know 24 hours ahead of time if I want to go to any committee meeting that's not mine, and because we're having all this confusion. But
Well, I think part of where this is coming from is that, Camden has a little bit more fluidity and flexibility, and Rockport has less of that. Like, all the meetings in Rockport still happen face to face. And so, I think we're trying to figure out, how do we bring Rockport more into the fold of this, in the structures
right.
work for them.
I doubt any of that's going to be a problem from the Camden side of things. And also, I got something back from Tom Hedstrom about the Pathways Committee presenting the master plan, and asked him if he wanted for us to try to collect more public input before we present it to the select board, or if we wanted, or if we wanted to present to the select board sort of what the Pathways Committee is and where we are in our draft plan, and show them that. And he was very adamant that he said he would love to he thinks the Pathways Committee should come present the history of what the Pathways, a little bit about the Pathways Committee, the draft plan, and he thinks that's a good opportunity for getting the master plan in the spotlight. And that'll also be a time to say, hey, this is what the committee's been working on and how we are thinking about moving forward. So I'm excited about that, because it's been a long time since we've had like an enthusiastic invitation to come and present to the select board.
So got to finish that movie then, right?
Oh yeah.
No, that would be good. So okay, we'll say, when are we thinking, until after when you get to that agenda item?
But we can talk about sort of the meeting schedule ideas going forward a little bit, if we wanted to include something then too.
Yeah, let's just finish up what we were talking about here. Margot, you had made a suggestion that everybody sort of think about, between now and the January meeting, about how we could set up this meeting schedule. I suggest someone from Rockport sort of float the idea to John and say, hey, or Ryan, and say, how could this look? Could it look this way? Would that work? And someone from Camden does the same thing for Camden.
Who would we present that to in Camden?
I would say it's just an informal thing that I would ask a procedural.
I think
it's okay.
I think they're just asking us.
I'm just going to say is could we meet as a little working group for a couple of meetings and then meet formally every quarter? That's the question.
I think
it's not do any formal business. Don't do any voting. Don't do any decisions. Just do work. And then the decisions are all left for the quarterly meetings. I don't know why that couldn't.
I think when you present it like that, it sounds a little sketchy. Like, we're going to plan to meet and we know exactly when we're going to meet and we have the schedule of when we're going to meet, but we're not going to make it a formal meeting.
No. We're meeting quarterly for taking care of business. And then we have these work groups that are meeting other times. Is that okay?
How about
I think we don't need to ask.
No, we don't. I don't think we need to ask in Rockport either. How about I just write up something and send it to you guys, and then Jeff, you can take it to whoever in Camden that you want to, and we'll present it to Orion, because that's our liaison. And this is what we're planning to do. And they don't care. They don't want one more decision to make.
No, they don't. I don't. No,
They
I
want,
get that.
and if we come with something that just says, this is what we're doing now, and we're respecting, Rockport's suggestion that we concentrate a little bit more on Rockport
Yeah,
and just move forward according to what we want.
yeah, sure.
In Camden, they can't even keep track of who's on our committee. So we've got to kind of present them with a plan. If they have problems with anything, then we can address that. But
So Linda, I'm hearing you're willing to draft up a possible
Yeah.
model,
Yeah, I'll draft up a model and then send it to you guys, and then
and then in our January meeting, we will discuss and
or we can just do it by email. I mean, we already have decided, like, if January, that will roll around pretty quickly. But if that's the first January meeting and then we decide to go quarterly, then maybe we decide this via email in December or something.
It's
I
not
mean, I
that
don't
we
think we
can we can do it in January. We should do it at a business meeting.
Okay, so we'll do it at a business meeting in January, but it'll be fairly swift because we really want to talk to Dakota, right? We want to hear from him. We don't want to talk about procedural stuff again.
You're absolutely right.
All right, so
I
I'll
was thinking
draft
about
it.
that.
I'll draft it, and then it's bada bing, bada boom in
or
January.
maybe it's an agenda item after we talk with Dakota.
oh yeah.
Okay,
Right,
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff Orion probably doesn't want to have to
no,
spend his
right.
time on either.
Orion might be interested though in coming to
Dakota.
that meeting because
Yeah, maybe we should invite. We should invite some.
and
that'd
Dave
be good.
St. Laurent, all
Yeah.
of the key town people. It sounds like this would be a good meeting to invite them to.
And
Yeah, and I
we
can say at the
also-
select board report, like, oh, our next meeting, we're going to have so and so, and if anybody wants to join for that, or
And can we give him, along with Camden's master plan, Rockport's as well, so he understands the symbiosis of the two towns?
Here, and Linda, I'm still having trouble with formatting. It just doesn't look good on the drive.
Because you're not in the right, it's not there. Formatting.
'cause it's a
Cam-
PDF being converted to a Google Doc in an awkward way.
So Linda, so Jeff, I'm putting
No,
minutes
it's in
together.
design. It's in design being converted.
It's
Oh,
in-
there's no way to make that look good then.
But who, are you talking about Camden or Rockport?
Rockport.
Well, don't get into Rockport because we messed around with Rockport last time. Are you going in to make corrections?
No, I'm
right,
not
then
doing that.
don't mess
I
with
want to send a copy to him, but I want to
Not
send a
yet.
good one.
Yeah, you can't yet.
I
Because-
can't.
No, when the PDF is
Yeah.
done, when those corrections are done, it still will remain draft. No, it won't be draft because I don't think the select board has to approve it. I don't think it does. Anyhow, it will be done and then you can send it to Dakota, but you're not sending it to him tonight, right?
Whenever you want.
Okay. So just chill out. Let me make the
All right.
full PDF and I will send it to you. And I'll put it in the Google Docs.
Okay,
Okay, so we're transitioning to the master plans.
that would be great.
Okay, do we want to start with Camden or Rockport?
Thought we finished with Rockport last
I
time.
thought we were finished with Rockport.
I thought we were too, but I didn't know if we had just based on the discussion, that's why I asked.
No, we're
Okay.
done. A few addendums were approved to make. But the gist of it is all set, because then we were going to concentrate solely on Camden tonight to finish that up, right? Except then Camden was talking about opening it up to the public. Is that what you guys, was that?
No, don't, no, I don't want to, if you can hold off that thought just for a little bit, that would be great, Allison.
I
We
didn't
can
say
talk
anything.
about, no, earlier you were talking about Tom and
That was
and
Linda
presenting.
talking. Okay.
No, that was a little while ago.
Okay.
What I'd like to do is just whip through, I'll put it up on my screen, if that
Are we
helps.
looking at version 9 or version 8?
Version 9, I can put it up on my screen.
Okay.
That way you don't have to worry about it, and I'll roll through it. Tom, can you see your screen?
I can see my screen, yes.
I mean, can you see our faces?
I can see you right now.
All right.
I saw Jane came on for a couple minutes and disappeared.
She has a
Yeah.
lousy, her connection is lousy. She just emailed, so she
Okay.
had to back off.
Is everybody
She may
seeing
talk
the
with you
master?
tomorrow.
Is everybody seeing the master plan?
Yes.
So what I did is I took the minutes and I actually rewatched the whole session to make sure I got it right, our whole meeting. And I incorporated the suggestions from our last meeting and I've highlighted them here. So one of the suggestions, Tom, you're going to love this, was to move the goals and background up to number 2 under executive summary, which is why that is yellow. And that's what I did. And so that if as I'm scrolling down, here's the executive summary. And then immediately following that now is the background, why the plan was created and the goals. So those are intact. I just moved them intact.
Beautiful.
Scrolling down further, the next suggestion was incorporate somewhere this phrase. And I put it, this is the whenever possible, current national and internationally recognized guidelines, such as those promoted by BCM for pathways should be used. Maybe I should say for pathways here.
I thought we were trying to use for street design, and
Well,
it's not. What does pathways mean? I don't
Well,
want them to
that's-
think they can get out of designing on regular streets the right way because it's not a pathway.
This is
I see
about
what you mean.
pathways. This is not about designing streets, is it?
Yes, it is. All of our
No. Yeah, well, under
What about for
general
active
principles,
transportation?
under general principles, I have, and I'll have to find it now, I'm sorry. Is it talks about general recommendations for road design. And the key word to use when you talk about road design is complete streets, which is a loaded word with DOT. They know what complete streets are. Every public works guy should know what complete streets are. There's a definition of it. And it's described by AASHTO and it's described by DOT. They know what a complete street looks like and how you aspire to that. So I
What
put it,
about if you use the term for complete active transportation, like they're using for the name of the planner?
We
what
should
was-
include links in this too, because you really can't assume that people that read this know what these things mean. Like we should have maybe a glossary with links or something.
there on the Camden website, there's a definition of complete streets.
I know, but nobody
reads it. Nobody reads it.
If you win the victory of somebody actually pulling out this document and reading it, and then they're like, "Oh, I don't quite know what complete streets is," you got to make that really super easy for them.
Okay, so I can put a hyperlink in there. I can make complete streets a hyperlink right there.
Yeah.
But I struggled with where to put. In our last meeting, we said this sentence, it's in our minutes. Just this way. We spent a half an hour coming up with this sentence.
I really don't think it was the word pathways, but it doesn't, because
Maybe
that's not a word that means something that's, I've already argued with people about what that, I don't think we have a shared understanding even as a group of what that means. Before it used to be 7-foot sidewalks, right? That was a pathway.
8.
Maybe we should ask Dakota how we should phrase that if we want to obligate our towns to do the right thing in the future. Or maybe we should say, what we do should be consistent with the, I don't know. I don't want to go back and rework all this, but
I will read it again and look at that. Okay, let's move on. I added 2 additional streets to the projects list. Route 52 shoulder improvement that was mentioned by Dave, that's going to happen. And Park Street east of Route 1 is going to happen. this Simonton was already on there. We already had Simonton on there.
Right, yeah, we did.
Yeah. So, and then a little further down under low, I have John Street, new sidewalk and shoulders along John Street from Route 1 to Mechanic Street. I'm not sure the exact timing on John Street. Maybe I should move that up to medium because I'm going to do that.
Well, we have a grant to do it. They're planning
because
it right now.
because we have a grant. That's right. So it's going to happen. I'll move that up here.
It's one of the top priorities in the Camden Comprehensive Plan, actually.
Yeah. Well, it was mentioned in our plan, but it was down under further.
I don't know
So
if
that
this
was
is the
that.
one, but there's some woman who's like driving right in the middle of the road now in her wheelchair on John Street.
Oh yeah, I have pictures of it.
And she's doing it pretty regularly. And you know, I just hope we don't get a darker day where somebody's mindless.
Is she
Oh
the
yeah,
one
you
who
should
li-
see her
who-
when she doesn't have the electric scooter and she's just trying to push herself in the wheelchair. I've talked to her a bunch of times, and it'll be so great for those people to have a sidewalk there.
Is it
those people
Windward
are, like,
Garden?
trapped
Is it
at
No,
Mary
it's that-
Gardens.
Mary
Mary
Gardens.
Windward
Gardens.
Gardens
It's
has
that
the
one
same
over
issue.
across from across from
The
Yeah.
the
Public Works
the
Garage.
church. Right,
Yeah.
Public Works Garage.
Public Works in the church.
Yeah, I've seen her too. I actually pulled over and got out of my car and pushed her wheelchair all the way back to her place. And she
I
was
went
in
grocery
front of-
shopping for her one day. Yeah.
She was in front of TD Bank.
Trying to
Bank.
make a
And-
statement.
And then I talked to the people at that nursing home, and they don't care that she, that it's like they were so uncaring about any kind of regular transportation options for someone like that.
Yeah.
Someone who needs to get into town and do errands.
I think they're just resigned to it. There's not a lot they can do. And it's so sad. We have to do better for the poor people that are just.
They build a nursing home out in the middle of nowhere and people can't get anywhere and they don't provide transportation. What do you do? And it's not really a nursing home, it's an independent living.
Exactly. Yeah, I learned a lot about that. It was not what I understood it to be. I went in her apartment too, and it was eye-opening. But now we're moving to that model. They just moved everybody out of Quarry Hill. I spent all day moving stuff out of the Knox Center in Rockland. Now everybody's on Old County Road, just completely disconnected. Anyway.
Moving on, further down is I added the Jacobs Quarry connector for lack of a better word. That's what we called it, and I just described it. And it's not very specific, but it's
/ Lily
specific
Pond
enough.
Trail. Maybe you should call it also the Lily Pond Trail.
I didn't
That's
do
what's
that.
been referred to in some things.
Well, that's what it's referred to in the Rockport master plan, so we should get.
Well, I was trying to differentiate
called?
it. I was trying to differentiate it based on what Tom said, is that this is not necessarily the Lily Pond Trail because that's in Rockport.
Oh, well.
And the Jacob, this is just,
If we're only going to do it in Camden, that's just like a little sliver.
it's
So
not.
maybe we
It
could
connects
say
to the
Jacobs
YMCA,
Quarry
which is a big,
connector
The
It's-
YMCA is in Rockport.
to
Yeah,
connect
but it-
with the Lily Pond Trail.
We can call it a couple different things.
Yeah.
It's okay.
all right, what do you want to do?
Call it what you called it, and then put a /Lily Pond Trail or whatever Rockport called it in their plan.
And that becomes the power of the two towns.
So Jacobs
Oh, to the
Quarry connector,
YMCA. Oh.
and then the
Think
Lily,
big, Jeff. Your original vision, just go back, use all the language from your original vision. It will still, everything you said before, it's very inspiring.
yeah. Well, the reason I backed off on it is that I think there's a better chance that we can get this section done between the YMCA, and once that gets done, we'll have leverage to get to the next section.
Well, just
Um,
like the Riverwalk, like you have it in phases, but you don't
Yeah.
you don't just call it the Mount Batty Street offshoot. You still call it the Riverwalk, and then we have sections and
Yeah.
It's gonna be called the dump trail. That's what it's gonna-
Ah, So,
Mm,
I could call it the dump trail. I'd be good with that.
And that's what the Lily Pond will do.
No.
Go over to the
Let's leave
dump
it the way it
trail.
is.
Um,
It's a rock road. It's the rock road. What it is, what we're trying to
Yeah,
use is the
yeah.
old rock road, which is one of the oldest roads in both towns. It's survived everything. It's an amazing road. Should just go back to what it used to be called. That's what Rockport calls it in its tax maps too.
Have you written about that, Allison?
You know what? I haven't, and I really should. We
Yeah.
should call it the Rock Road here because that's what you have to look up in deeds and stuff.
Yeah.
We should call it the Rock Road.
Yeah.
And that also reinforces the fact that it was a road that we also have that we continue to have rights to.
Yes. I think that's very
It is a
strategic.
road. It's just
Really,
we're just
there's-
restoring an old road. That's all.
There's a right of way there. Because it
Yep.
doesn't show up on the GIS maps.
Nope, it's not going to. But actually, you can see a tiny bit in Rockport. They when we sold the Y and did all that stuff, they there's a parcel that is actually called the Rock Road. It's like this little landlocked parcel because Rockport went to the trouble of delineating it in a few places, but the easement goes all the way through. It's one of those things that's a little contentious among some, but
Well, that's fantastic if it's true. I mean, that,
I could send you all the old articles from back when Jeff was really working on this, and Paul Gibbons did all this work. Paul Gibbons, the attorney, drove his car from Lime Rock Street in Rockport to Lime Rock Street in Camden with Roger Moody, the Camden town manager at the
He
time.
did. I didn't know that.
He told me
Wow.
this. And he said that the resistance, that people were worried that it was because it's such a good road that people were very concerned it was going to be used by vehicles, and that was a lot of the resistance from some of the property owners because the road is just so excellent that people were driving on it. So they were looking at different rules like that, like how to make sure that vehicles couldn't go on there. So we're ready to come back and compromise and not let vehicles on there. But we should talk to Paul Gibbons sometime if he can. Anyway, I'll send you all the old articles, Tom, because you're going to read this and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, they already came up with this. They already did this. MDOT approved a grant, and then it was like a couple select board members in Rockport that were like, we don't see the value in this and we don't want to do it. And
It was Midco Solid Waste at the time.
that too. Yeah, but there was a Rockport select board meeting too. And that's why Jeff's been so traumatized, because there was so much momentum and people worked so hard, and it was so disappointing for these people. And he's been carrying that memory.
No, I'm okay. I'm not traumatized. I want to do it
You have
again.
oh, good. Oh, good. It's going to
Yeah.
work. This time.
well, let me just say that I didn't think the problem was going to be the things you're talking about at all. I looked at those GIS maps and I said, boy, those big lots running all the way down from either from Union Street or from one of the side streets all the way down to the lake. Those are a developer's dream. And
that's correct.
I
And
was
those
thinking,
they
boy,
have been bought up by one person, one after
Yeah.
another. If you look
so
at the
what's
GIS,
that one person have to say about all this?
that's right.
She's open-minded. But she doesn't have it. You know what? We have to stop tiptoeing around people. There are rights to that. And the only thing missing is political will. I also talked to Jeremy, Tom, and I think there's some progress on getting the town to take over that other part too. But
Oh yeah. I'm gonna
the
do
case
that.
is so much stronger than I ever realized.
Allison, I'm gonna talk
Yeah.
to Jeremy again about that.
Oh,
No?
can I just update you then first? I had a
All
whole
right,
long.
off topic. We'll do it later.
Okay, thanks.
Can you peep? I'm going to bring us back here because it's 7:22. If you look at how I worded this just now, it says pathway connecting the Greenfield subdivision to the YMCA and ultimately to the Lily Pond Trail through Midco Solid Waste. This route will take advantage of the historic Rock Road. Just trying to get it somewhere.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. And then under objectives, the next section, the first yellow bullet item is the one that Dave St. Laurent was encouraging us to include, which says being flexible and nimble, adjusting pathways, priorities based upon the town priorities for road and subsurface sewer stormwater projects. Remember that?
Yep.
The
Mhm.
next one was, this was also in our minutes, review roads for bicycle and pedestrian accessibility and safety enhancements prior to maintenance or improvements or subsurface sewer system work. It's repetitive, but we had said both. So there you go.
Repetition is good in this context, I think.
And then this next one is another choice where I put it, use nationally, internationally. This is, I think I left that other one. I moved it down here. The one that we were struggling with that I just marked in red. Looks like I had left it up on the top. Use nationally and internationally recognized standards for pedestrian and bicycle accessibility and safety, such as those promoted by BCM, when considering new or maintaining existing infrastructure projects. And that's the wording I worked out, Allison, to avoid. It just says any infrastructure projects. So that's how I did that. And then this was the last thing, which was something we talked about. I tried to figure out wording for how we coordinate with the town efforts to create an online database accessible through the town GIS system that includes existing bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, as well as needed maintenance and new facilities. So that would be
Great.
saying, trying to say what we got and what will come and what needs to be
Awesome.
maintained.
Really
Good
nice.
job, Jeff. You did a lot of work.
Really nice. Yeah.
That's
Actually, that
it.
would be a good one to put into the Rockport plan as well.
Well,
Mhm.
I highlighted
yeah.
them. So
we
Linda,
can do that.
Linda asked me to send it to her, and I didn't do that. I'm going to take this out. I don't.
That's
think
all
it's
right.
needed
I'll
there.
just go in and pick
Yeah,
it up.
just lift it out. Yeah. Yeah. Those are all. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's all I have.
Nice work.
Awesome. Really good work, Jeff.
Now going back to what Allison was saying. She had mentioned that that Tom Hedstrom suggested that we come and present this draft to the select board. So that would be the next step for this. So any objections to sort of tying a ribbon around this for this draft?
I
No
make a
objections.
motion.
A second.
As,
I just had a question.
yep.
No questions, Andrew.
Why?
Go ahead, Andrew.
I just wanted great things written in there, but how are they enforced? Or how can they be carried out? Is there a clause in there that says they must do these things?
We should get it voted on at town meeting as part of the update to the comprehensive plan or something. But
Right. So Andrew, was your question, is there anything that says we have to do any of this stuff? Is that what your question
Yeah.
was? And
Yeah,
how do you
'cause
put teeth? How do you put teeth into it that says we will do it?
Exactly, because it may be overlooked and they'll go and tear up the whole street and not fix the infrastructure or whatever. I don't know, like they did on Park Street in Rockport.
The goal would be to get the select board to approve it. That would be one step. A step down from that would be to get them to accept the plan. And a step up would be to incorporate this master plan into the town comprehensive plan.
Great. Yep.
And that's where the teeth are.
Yeah.
Because you can point back to it to say, hey, what's going on here? How come we're doing this work and we're not doing diligence on making sure that we're considering pedestrian bicycle safety?
So
when we're
when
doing this?
presenting to the town select board, will there be a recommendation of what the hope is that would be done with this?
Before I answer that, Allison, did Tom clarify that he wanted the discussion to start? Because if the purpose is for the discussion to start, then that's like, let's kick off the discussions and get community input, public information meeting, whatever. And then after that, then you gather all that information and then you say, okay, we've incorporated the recommendations from the town, blah, blah, blah. Now will the select board approve these and incorporate them? But Allison, thoughts?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, part of the goal has to be to elevate the visibility of these priorities and get more people talking about it. And because we've had this master plan for a long time that many people haven't looked at. So we've started to have some people coming to our select board meetings too, like Jamie Stone, for instance, was there last time from the middle school, identifying areas of concern and asking us to take action. And I mentioned, oh, well, this is great timing because the Pathways Committee is updating their master plan. And so getting, you know, people that are energized for, you know, on different pathways or pedestrian related topics to feel like they have some ownership of this document too. So yeah, so I asked Tom, do you want us to try to, you know, we were thinking about sending this out to you know, we want more people to be able to be involved in this. Do you want us to start with the select board and have the select board help define the process going forward, and or do you want us to just try to get a bunch more input and then bring it to the select board when we feel like it's 100%? And he said, let me just read the he said, hi, Allison, let's have a presentation at the select board meeting. I would like to get an update on all the work the Pathways Committee has done and is planning, and I believe the public would too. Presenting at a select board meeting is probably the most high profile and best way to get the information out to all. So, and Tom's really good on these issues too. He's really kind of a visionary, actually. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to hear him speak kind of off the cuff about what he thinks is important in towns. And he thinks we should have fewer cars and people should be walking. And so, yeah, I think that we should basically let the select board have a little bit of a role in feeling like, okay, this is what we should do next, because we want people to feel like, you know, they're a part of it. So maybe we could have some suggestions of different groups that we could send it out to as an opportunity to submit comments. And then, you know, take some input and give people a way to do that. And then also be open to, you know, what the select board wants or doesn't want. So, you know, so they feel like they're part of creating the next steps a little bit. I think they'll be pretty impressed, actually. And you should talk about some of what's happened in the past, you know, the river walk, what has been a result of, you know, the Pathways Committee started with this, and this is what we've been doing. This is where we are. And because a lot of people don't know that, you know, that sidewalk on Union Street, for instance, and
do we have a which select board meeting we want to be prepared to present this at?
I think we should say we could be prepared by like anytime, you know, give him a date that we'll be prepared by, and say, you know, can you leave it to his discretion when he can fit us on the agenda based on that. But we're probably pretty darn close to ready, I would think, right?
So there's a motion on the table that hasn't been voted on. I don't know what you want to do with that. I forgot who made
that is true.
But this was a discussion because Andrew asked, what teeth can we put into it? That's where we are right now. He asked, okay, here's the plan. How do we put teeth into it?
Okay, do you want to finish that vote and then talk about and then complete the next steps?
Well, Andrew looks like Andrew left it in disgust. He's just gone.
He's fled.
Oh, that's funny.
He's fled. It's like, fine, whatever.
I wanted to ask, Allison has pointed out how important it would be to have it on the GIS or as an overlay in the GIS, so that that is basically what is referred to typically by town functionaries when they're going to do something XYZ at place such and such. So part of one of the questions to get feedback from the select board is can putting this on the GIS be a priority? How soon can it be done? And who's going to do it? I mean, just actually addressing that question.
The select board isn't going to be able to give you any answers on that. They need to be, I'm really involved in that, in training volunteers for all of the layers. And I just had a recent meeting and I've been saying this at select board meetings, like, oh, we're doing the stormwater and the trees, and the pathways committee is going to be, developing an app too. I spoke with Caitlin. How do I answer this quickly? That's in the works, and trying to make sure that we have it in the budget. But I think you should just say, we've been told that this could be a useful tool, and we're really eager for that. And we want to make sure that there's enough money in the GIS for the town to expand, enough money in the budget for the town to expand what it's been doing with GIS. Because we're dragging out the budget committee process even longer this year, and trying to encourage committees to weigh in during this process too. So just saying, you see this as valuable, and you see it as valuable what the other committees have been able to do, and you want to make sure that we keep doing that, and then don't get into any of the details. We just want to make sure there's money for it.
Right. Yeah. So that's where the rubber hits the road, is that you want to be requesting funds to get that done.
Yeah. And you don't need it to be like for the pathways committee to do this. It's like there's a GIS line right now. We'll be able to do this already. Like, I can make it happen, but not if the select board micromanage. We have a contract with CAI, and Rockport should do the same thing, because you have the same company, and they are so good at developing this kind of stuff for towns. If you look on CAI's website for all the examples of other towns that they do stuff for, they're so much better than what Camden and Rockport have, because we've gone with the budget stuff, but they can develop apps for anything. Anyway, so we're there. We have approval. Audra got a little overwhelmed with the number of different GIS things going on, and nobody to really coordinate it across all. Like, we have it for sewer and stormwater, and we had all these licenses, and so she's put Caitlin Thompson in the assessing department, in charge of being the GIS coordinator, keeping track of all the data we have, being the point person with CAI, making sure we know, what department things get billed to, stuff like that. So I just had a meeting with them last week to kind of parse out stuff that I wanted to make sure didn't get lost in all of this. Like, don't forget, we need money for this and this and this. And
yeah, good. Thank you. Excellent.
Okay, so that sounds like a working, little work session at some point, but let's get back to our vote, which is, we have a motion, we have a second to approve the Camden master plan with the edits that Jeff shared with us. And then with the idea that we can figure out the details of reporting or presenting to the select board with whatever motion recommendation we want to have with it between now and whenever it makes sense. So this is a vote simply on approving the Camden master plan. So we had a motion, we had a second. All in favor?
Oh, I forgot I don't get the vote. I was so excited.
Okay.
Who made the motion and who seconded, just for the record?
I seconded.
And it might have been Andrew that made the motion. No, Andrew asked.
I thought it was you, Margot.
Oh, I think it might have been. It might have
Okay,
been.
thank you. Thank you. Good. That's wonderful. Yay,
Well
that's
done,
a
Jeff.
project.
Yay.
Woo, we did. We
Good.
completed the
That's a-
project for 2023.
that's a
Yay,
lot of work
everybody.
that Jeff put in.
Yay.
And now,
Yeah.
Linda, you can retire.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was I was gonna bring that up.
Okay, we're out of time at 7:30.
At 7:38.
So
Okay.
just to recap, no meeting in December, right? And then January, it's at the Camden Town Office with Dakota, and I am
Oh, I can't guarantee that. He said I'll let everybody know whether that works or not. He didn't sign up for that, but he said he'll
Meaning
try.
that date he didn't sign up for.
Correct.
I mean, we're
Correct.
assuming he's zooming in, but
Correct.
okay. And then we are at that meeting. We are also going to talk about the structure going forward, and we're going to talk about the leadership structure. Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
And you're going to send us. a
Ooh.
Oh,
proposal ahead
Andrew's
of
back
time.
in. Hold on.
Write those
Yeah.
down. Write those down.
Well, I'm taking the minutes. That's why I'm saying.
Okay. Okay, good. I'm taking the minutes on Google Docs, so that's good.
You'll
Do
see.
you want to give
there's a-
Andrew a chance to vote? Is that, or did
No.
you need that? No. Does
Um,
that help, or is it just unanimous?
So Andrew, you missed the vote, but you voted in favor. I mean, do you want to in abstentia? Did you vote in favor? Because here you are, and
It was
Yeah,
on approving the Camden master plan.
Oh, yeah, no,
Draft.
I'll vote yes. I just, my whole thing conked out. I don't know what happened.
okay. All right, thank you. Then that's great. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Zip. That's wonderful. That's a great vote. So then we'll also defer, because it's so late. We're going to defer the discussion about making the road paintings cohesive. Obviously, yes. All right. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Happy
Great.
holiday, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Merry
you.
Christmas. Get the tree up.
Allison,
Thanks. Hasn't
I
happened yet.
admired your photographs in the hallway at the hospital. It's really,
Oh.
Allison has a bunch of photographs, the underwater photographs she's been taking in Camden Harbor of the fish, and there's a really great one taken underwater, half of it's underwater and half of it's the whole Camden Harbor. It's really terrific. She's got them up on the wall in the main hall towards the cafeteria at the hospital.
Allison, you should send me
Good job,
that
Allison.
with 1 or 2 of them, and I'll put it in the pilot, because that's people go to the hospital all the time.
Oh yeah, it's like I've never gotten so many like comments from people as stuff being at the hospital. It's like, yeah, I would.
Just send me
I'd love
something with
to.
with a few of the photos. I think that's great.
I love the half in the water and the rest of the Camden Harbor, and that big sort of wide angle view is really pretty cool. Very good job.
Thanks.
Do you have any of the Chickawaukee of the brook down there? Or is it all
Not
Camden?
up there because I had already submitted them all. They did this, Penn Bay did this competition where people could submit stuff a really long time ago, and then they selected a bunch of local artists, and they've been rotating. And it's just so it was stuff that I submitted a really long time ago. But yeah, actually that Chickawaukee stuff is really we did get we'll get the grant through the Penobscot Nation for the Chickawaukee stuff. But
That's wonderful. Let me know if you do. That's great. See, things are moving. Things are moving finally.
yeah, this feels actually really good.
Okay. I'm going to sign off.
Hi, Margot.
Okay.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Allison, can you stop it? And then I just want to chat with you for if you have 5 minutes to fill me in.
Oh sure. Yep. Then I gotta post something about we have to keep loading this trailer tomorrow at the Knox Center. We loaded 38 hospital beds onto a 53-foot trailer today at the Knox Center for